morning, everyone. Since everybody is talking about AI, I think we'll continue the conversation and talk about more AI, how we can have a human AI synergy, and how at the leadership level we can tackle the challenges that we are facing today. My name is Zeeshan, and I head marketing and communications at Wathba Insurance. I am also a host of a podcast called Behind Marketing Lines, and I'm looking forward to have more of the marketers coming up on the podcast and speak about marketing with AI and without AI. Well, to Bateel International. So anything specific that you guys are working on, and what's the adoption that you have for the AI at Bateel?
Bateel, for the ones in the region, I think you probably know Bateel. It's a luxury confectionery brand. If you don't know it, please make sure that you go to the stores because they're very nice. So in Bateel, we're starting the journey. I think it's the AI journey is something that requires a change in mindset, an openness from the leadership, and we're working on building that awareness of the technology, understanding the use cases, because I think today it's still a little bit messy, the use cases of AI, especially for corporates. Many corporates don't know yet how to use it, so we are in the exploration phase. We're trying to use some tools in marketing, for example, for research. We're doing some also in manufacturing that we are using some AI technology. Now, what we believe is that in the future, it's going to be something that is going to be embedded in everything we do. And again, the technology is here and we see the technology here not to replace anyone, but to augment our capabilities, to make sure that as individuals, we use the technology to be more efficient in what we do, and we do things in a better way. So that's where we are today. It's the start of a journey, but it's something that we believe it's going to be part of our day-to-day jobs in the very near future.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And it's a very diverse panel. We have people from financial services, investment, banking, insurance, technology, and confectionaries. So I'll take the banking perspective now, George. So at Mashreq, I mean, then as a consumer, I have a question as well. Like, do we really need AI, or are we getting into use of AI just for the sake of it? And how at Mashreq are you tackling that challenge?
So the first question was, sorry, I couldn't hear.
So basically, I mean, I'm a consumer, right?
Yeah.
And recently there was an incident. Okay, so I'll share that with the audience as well, with one of the leading banks here. While I was traveling on my way from Abu Dhabi to Dubai, I got a text message that somebody swiped my card somewhere in the US. So while I was looking at the text message, 7 more messages came in. So I parked my car on the side and I immediately dialed the bank's helpline. And then there was this famous voice saying, how can I help? And I'm like, okay, I need to speak to an agent because looks like my card has been compromised.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we need to, match your voice print. So I'm repeating, and it continuously kept on telling me that, we're unable to match that. Maybe I was too excited, or I don't know. It always works, but at that particular moment, it didn't help. And I lost a lot of time. So my question would be, are we getting into use of AI for the sake of it, or there are times or places within the financial services especially where we can avoid using it and bring in the human element more?
Okay, so a very interesting question. So just as a bit of a background, I look after marketing for Mashreq on the wholesale side of the bank. So on the B2B side of the bank. I don't do retail, but I'll tell you a bit more. And so I've been in financial services for about 20 plus years, and before that I was in telecom. So basically going through transformation across the two industries. I think here we need to think about AI is not a technology. It's a change. Okay, it's a massive change. We're not in a way of digitization processes. Okay, the mindset, the thinking that we need to have, the new learnings are actually antinomic to digitization. So I'll explain a bit more later on. But when you look at digitization, you've gone through basically the last 20 years, replacing processes with digital processes, okay? And when you integrate AI, it's at multiple levels. So I can tell you from Mashreq perspective, we are integrating AI. We've been integrating AI for quite a long time. The models have changed, obviously. They've now evolved to be a lot more sophisticated, but it's across everywhere. So you would be looking at our data and, analytics. We'll be using AI to actually extract insights from the data that we see. Excuse me, that would be data that could be transactional data you would see from a retail perspective or from a wholesale perspective. We would see, for example, a specific type of companies in trading and looking into specific corridors between the UAE and Pakistan or India and so on. And then from that level of data, you can actually extract an insight, and inside you can personalize that and hyper-personalize it. So this is where AI becomes an incredible value generator, because then you're looking at something that was not possible yesterday, now is possible today. Okay, so that is kind of the submerged type of value that people don't really see today. Okay, what they see today is mostly, okay, how do I get efficiency and cost efficiency and into the operations and then into my customer support and so on. And I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, there are things that are, yes, I've been implementing now for cost savings or operations and so on. And the models are getting even better and better, But to use case that you just talked about, this would happen also with IVR. So this could happen also with a human.
A bit to do with customer experience as well, as an overall.
So I think what we need to be thinking about is that AI is not just a technology. This is not a next stage of digitalization. It's actually now a complete redefinition of operating models and how people work and what are the roles, what are the things that we should be doing, how do we augment ourselves, and specifically, when we're talking about marketing, we go down into that topic. This is very relevant, and at the moment it's quite complex because you have, from a top-down perspective, you have, no company can say or can think that they don't have an AI strategy. They must have it. It's like saying I don't use a car or I don't use a computer. But the implementation of it is very complex because you have to go through IT processes, you have to go through data processes. In a bank, we are a regulated financial institution, so our number one job is to protect our customer data. We don't share data by essence. So all of that needs to be fully, architected and developed from a top-down perspective. But you need to also drive a bottom-up grassroots, because otherwise you'll never meet. By the time you actually implement something, the solution will have changed, the use cases will have changed, the problem statement will have changed. So we're integrating that into our data. We're integrating that into the way we look at extracting that data. We're looking at how we implement that from an enterprise level. We're looking at how each teams will operate as squads and then use AI to from a bottom-up perspective. So it's all at the same time at the moment.
Right. No, I totally agree with you, and the use case that you shared was very insightful. And I read it somewhere as well that AI is not a strategy, but it's an enabler. Agreed. So Shaista, moving to you. You had marketing at Wipro. So as a marketing leader, how do you connect the AI with the human intuition? And how do you make sure that this emotional element stays intact when you're marketing to your customers?
Well, I think the most important thing firstly is to demystify AI. There is a lot of myth around it as well. There is a lot of hype that, it's there to replace the human factor. I think that's what everyone's been talking. And then you often tend to wonder, am I safe? And if so, how long? And what are the skills that I need to be to ensure that I'm still relevant in the market? So while it's very important that we educate, firstly, ourselves on AI, what are the different AI tools as marketers that we can use, and up until what level do I need to use AI? If The human element, I think, is very, very important because the emotional intelligence only comes from humans. While we utilize AI in marketing campaigns to do A/B testing, to drive content, but to ensure that it's culturally appropriate, to ensure that it speaks to the audience, I think that part, the human element, is very important, and the human in the loop needs to be there. But at the same time, I think it's very important for us to ensure that we are very well versed with the AI tool that we are using. What is the ROI that we want to establish through this? And how do I make sure that it's relevant to the market that I am catering to? So I think these are the factors that I think is very important, especially when it comes to storytelling, when it comes to relating to your audience, to understanding the tone of the brand stays authentic, and to ensuring that you still have that touch with your audience. I think in that factor, the human in the loop needs to be there. But yes, to educate and to demystify the whole myth and fact around AI is very important as well. But yes, it's here to stay. It's here to disrupt. It changes. It has been constantly evolving. We started with AI, and now we're talking about a genetic AI already. And we're talking about the next level. But making sure that we are true to our customers that we are catering to by the end of the day. And the experience that you had sometimes can be very frustrating. So hence the human in the element needs to be there as well.
Makes sense. Yeah, please.
Okay, I like to build on this because I think it's spot on. Actually, as marketer, our main challenge here is to go back to the fundamentals of marketing. And what are the fundamentals? Understanding our customer, understanding our market, building proposition, and delivering value. Okay, and then I think because of digitization, and I've seen, we've gone into models of specialization into our fields, and then we are only seeing one aspect of the customer. So if you're in performance marketing, you'll be looking at one aspect of the customer. If you're in brand, you'll be only looking at this. So the challenge is back on us now. We need to be better marketers. We need to be more rounded, more strategic, and we need to also tap into the creative levels that we've kind of not used. If you're in performance marketing, what is the opportunity you have in being creative? Not very much. When you're in brand, what is the opportunity to go into analytics? Not very much. So I think we would need to unlearn a lot of things, really relearn and upskill ourselves very, very quickly. And at the end of the day, always remember that our number one job is to create value for the customer. And value, what does that mean? What type of value, and how do we demonstrate that to our customers, but also internally? And I think that's really what I was pointing out about changing mindsets and operations and the way we see things, because that is fundamental. That is the change. And today, if you have a set of AI tools or platforms that you use, but you don't know what the outcome should be for the customer and for your stakeholders internally, you'll have a fantastic platform, but you won't be able to leverage any of it.
That's an interesting perspective you would like to add?
Sorry. I think you're touching a very important point on the creativity. Because as you were saying, we don't have the time right now, or we usually didn't have the time to be creative and be curious, because there's a lot of repetitive things that we had to do on a daily basis, and creating slides and looking at data and putting the data. And today AI is bringing you time back. It's giving you the opportunity to actually become creative again and be curious again and have the time to do that in a different way. So as you are saying, this is extremely important. This is the role that the human needs to have, is to use the technology in their favor and use it to release them for repetitive actions and things that they had to do, and really bring that creativity to delight the consumers. Because that's, end of the day, it's the most important thing. It's delighting the consumers to create the value. So I think this is a critical point here on bringing AI into our daily lives.
I always say this, that AI is artificial intelligence, but we don't want marketers to, coordinate AI with something even more basic, which is natural stupidity. And if you combine artificial intelligence with natural stupidity, I think that's the most dangerous thing you can do as a marketer or as a firm, wherever you are. So goes back to the point which my colleagues and co-panelists are making. I think one is to use AI, leverage AI in what you're doing, and to use it responsibly and ethically. And at the same time, don't think that it's going to solve all your problems. Like people are saying, it's an enabler. It's something which is going to make life a little simpler for you. But don't expect that everything is going to go, everything's going to get done by AI. Because if that happens, remember, then you're replaceable. I don't want to get into something where my team or I are seen as replaceable so easily. So I'll give you an example. DDQs are probably one of the most important things on the investment side when we are onboarding clients and they want to go through rounds and rounds of pages of questions. 40,000, 50,000 pages of questions sometimes actually happens with very large ones, and 400-500 pages of actual questionnaires happen with smaller clients, but largely institutional. Earlier, we used to take anything between 7 days to a month, 30 days, 7 days to 30 days to do these RFPs. Today, with integrating AI, we're able to build a repository of data where we're able to cut down 80% of the work into 3 hours. It's actually gone from 7 to 30 days to 3 hours where 80% of the work is done. The balance 20% is where I talk about human intervention, which some of my co-panelists have also said, to fine-tune what's been developed for that 80% and put in the additional skills of the 20%, which only they can bring to the table. Remember, AI learns from what we do. They learn from others. It's not that they're making things, they make things up, but they don't create things. So you got to be more careful when you're actually working on AI. And just to give you one more interesting case, we used to use mass personalization to reach people. And I think AI can really solve for personalization, right? So when you want to reach out to many clients, but you want to make it more personal, you do it. When we started using more and more AI, especially on our fund manager videos, and there have been market updates, we've started getting pushback from clients that we don't want AI content. We want content that's more personalized, that's more for us, where they like the or the fumble from the PMs. They like the hand gestures from the fund managers. They don't want a AI developed persona who's giving them a message. So now we're actually, I feel, in our industry, we've crossed that level where everyone wants AI content, and now we're starting to come to a stage where everyone wants more human content. So I think that for us as marketers, let AI do the background job, but the creative part of it and the delivery part of it should still be human. And that's what's very important for us. So coming back to this whole marketing leadership in the age of AI, as marketing leaders, we have to also ensure, therefore, that across whatever work we're doing, we keep that in mind. Human can never be replaced. It's the AI who's going to help us. If human can be replaced, all of us in this room are going to lose our jobs. And that's not what we want either. So as long as we can show that and prove ourselves capable of keeping that 20% of that 100%, that's when we will continue to retain and get the best out of AI. And I think that's something which we should all keep in mind.
Perfect. So I have a question for the audience here. How many marketers do we have in the room? Can we have some show of hands? Okay, so it's almost 50%. And if I may ask, how many of us, the marketers, use AI, any form of AI, be it generative or predictive? So almost all of us, right? So last question, and that is for everybody. Would you want to consume content that is being generated by AI, or would you want to consume content that is being generated by humans? So show of hands for AI, please. Show of hands for humans. So this answers, I think this basically tells the same thing, that we all want to consume content that is being generated by humans. And I see on LinkedIn at times, there are those long posts, which as soon as it starts, you get to know that, okay, this story is written by AI, and then nobody reads it. That is correct.
But
It's just very easy to pick as well. These days, I think everyone knows this content is being generated by AI, especially when you see those, those stars and those parachutes and something taking off and some star coming somewhere, and you just know this is
and
just,
the dashes.
exactly, yeah. You just know this is just AI generated content.
But-
ChatGPT.
Can I just say something about
Please
this?
go ahead.
Because I think the future, there's not going to be human or AI generated content anymore. It's going to be a blend. There's no way around it. Now, the thing is, as people, we need to make sure that our voice is captured in whatever is generated, right? But the reality is, there's no way in the future that you're going to have content that is solely human created. That's going to disappear. We're always going to start to be using these technologies because they're fast, they're becoming more and more accurate, and they're helping you streamline your time. And in reality, in the work environment, those that do not start using these tools are going to get behind everyone else because you're going to be less efficient. You're going to be taking longer to do things, and you're going to lose, the train. So this thing of being human-generated, AI-generated solely and kind of avoiding the thing of, because, hey, I touched it, I don't want to read it, it's going to disappear. The mindset will change. It's just a matter of time.
I agree. It's just not going to exist anymore. It has to be a hybrid way to look at it. While we have the human touch for the emotional intelligence, but these days everybody's using likes of ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot to generate ideas, to use it, and then of course you add a review and see it. But yeah, I totally agree with you.
So if I can just say something here, the challenge is actually then how do you get to ensure that in firms like ours, where we have large marketing organizations, it's getting used by everyone. And that's something we've been actively working on for the last 12 to 18 months. And it started with the whole skills versus assessment gap. Where do we want them to be and where they actually are? And today, over this journey which we've developed, and we've done a lot of investment in terms of teaching, educating, giving different opportunities on how to learn various parts of AI, we've reached a stage where we banned ChatGPT. We banned most softwares which are not enterprise level. So if you want to get to ChatGPT, irrespective of the cost, everyone can request for an enterprise level. We use Writer very actively across the organization, again, enterprise level. What this also helps us do is that it creates a repository of content, which also gives you a tone of voice, a style in which you want the firm to speak. So it's very important, therefore, that when you put everything back, the tone of voice, the content, whatever we are talking about in terms of creative, we get a uniform sort of soul, which we can talk about with Franklin Templeton. Today, we've also made it compulsory for everyone, including whether it's my chief marketing officer globally or my local marketing that I run and my team and everyone across marketing. We have over 200 colleagues. One of the points in their IPP is actually how are they using AI into making their work easier. A big example of this, we spend around $1.5 million a year only on translations. This year, we've cut that by 30% with the use of Writer. And we have something which we call Plutonic, which is one of our software, language translation softwares. We've cut that by 30. So we're now at 70% of $1.5 million. The objective is how do we get that down to a 500,000 or $500,000 and actually create business impact? Because at the end of the day, any money that gets saved there, it's going to probably come back to your budgets in some other way. And we all know, some of you, 50% of marketers in this room, whenever something gets cut, it's first the marketing budget. And even if, sales are going up, we don't get more money. So we are trying to find smart ways to keep that pool as it is, but try and save. And this is how we are doing it. So one, add it to the IPP, add it to the KRAs of each and every one of your team members where you see relevant, and they'll come up with ideas and solutions how they're doing it. And two, look for ways of using AI to actually look at saving costs so that you can regenerate that cost or redeploy that cost into making your marketing work more efficient. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
And I think one of the core skills that the marketers need to have is adaptability, right? So when generative AI was just getting started, all of us wanted to create content quickly. We were using ChatGPTs and we were using these, AI avatars to create content. But now that we know that, the audience, they do not want to consume that content, we need to go back to being hybrid, right?
Yeah. So I think there's a very, very valid point. We've gone in the last 20 years between ranking people with IQ, then to EQ, and now to AQ. So adaptability quotient. So how adaptable I am, and it's not about how smart I am. It's basically, I keep coming back to the fundamentals of marketing. Who's my customer? What is my target? What is my proposition? What is the problem I solve? What is the value I generate? And then thinking about when you're looking at a campaign or as a brand, what is my brand promise? What is the single thought of my campaign? What is an original idea? And how do I drive that original idea into a creative, a creative delivery that actually is impactful for the customer and then generate all of that value. So as marketeers, in the last 15 years, we kind of become lazy about these things. We just think, okay, we build a plan, we work with agencies. The quality of the briefs are not that great. You ask any agency out there, how many of them would think that clients can write a really good brief? Very few will tell you that I think the ratio globally is about 70% or 80% actually receive really bad briefs. Why is that? Is because we are not looking at all of these elements that we want as marketeer, as marketing. And now what you see is AI generated briefs, even worse.
Tell me about
they're worse. So it is up to us if we really want to demonstrate that value we bring. And unfortunately, as we have half of the audience here as marketing people, we don't have the luxury of other functions in the business. You'll never. I'm just quoting Rory Sutherland from Ogilvy. It was a session a couple of weeks back, a month back, and he was telling the guy's a legend. You should look him up. He was saying nobody comes to an engineer or to an architect and asks them, "What have you delivered today? What is the return on investment of engineering? What is the return on investment of architecture?" Nobody asks that question, but we get asked that question every day. What is the return on investment of what we do? So we are always in that battle of justifying what we do instead of saying what value we bring. So we spend 90% of our time telling everybody else within the business of what we do. Okay? It's fine, but we need to go back now to what value do we bring, how brands can really leverage all that capability now to drive actually better marketing for our customers, more authenticity. So how do we drive that level of authenticity? How do we drive that level of emotion, that level of personalization? And that's the fantastic challenge, if you think about it, that's really amazing. Because it's not just a tool, is now it will enable you to actually deliver hopefully better things. And I think the challenge we'll see what is better versus more. And we'll see how that develops.
No, 100%. And I'm grateful to digital marketing and especially attribution modeling. Now we are able to tell the CFOs and the CEOs that, look, this is the return on marketing investment that we are bringing back. Would you like to add anything, or can we take a few questions?
I was just going to add to that it's important that we drive the conversation with our agents, right? And if we don't have the fundamentals and we don't use those fundamentals, you're not able to drive the conversation. If you prompt something and you take it for granted and you don't challenge it back, it's going to be crappy briefs. But the thing is, if you know what you're doing and you have a conversation in a sense, and you challenge back and it comes with better things, and then you challenge back and it comes with better things, because you know what you have to do and you know the outcome that you expect, then you can get amazing briefs out of it. But that's the thing. You cannot take for granted the first output that comes from an agent. Because if you do that, you're going to have crappy things. And you're you're going to say, oh, it's AI generated, so it's great, it's going to be good. It's not. That's the reality. So it's really important that we educate people that are using the tools, that they need to use their own critical thinking and look at the output, read the output, and challenge back. If you challenge back, it works. It really works. But you cannot take things for granted that it's accurate, for example. You cannot accept the first thing that comes out. You really need to go back and have that conversation to come out with a strong output out of it. And that is possible. But you need to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, forget it. It's not gonna replace any knowledge that you don't have.
I think that's true, and we need to have prompt engineering as one of the core skills when we are hiring somebody or when we are training our teams. That is correct.
So I'm not going to say anything more, but just going to add to like this. I've been in marketing for over 20 years. It's when the ad agency, you give them a briefing and the creative team comes back to you and gives you 3-4 options and you reject them all because you say, I don't like it. That's all, right? That's the feedback. Think of AI like that. You look at the output, make it go up and down a couple of times, just like you did when you did your creative briefings, and you'll come out of that the way you should come out of the final ad which you approved and everyone signs off. Your final content or final output of AI is like that. So it's just life like that.
All right. So can we have a big round of applause for a wonderful roundtable discussion? So do we have a questions for this interesting discussion that we had here?
Very nice discussion. So when we talk about, you are talking about marketing leadership in the age of AI, right? So, and all of you are using some tools and for your doing the marketing, right? So do you yourself also work to build your own IPR in creation of the tools that will be uniquely placed in the marketing to lead with others?
So personally, my writer AI agentic tool is called Ava. I'm trying to build it to become my personal assistant over time. And I don't know why I called it Ava, but that's my own one. And I'm using that today to help it discover me and understand me more as what I am doing as a marketer, and then integrate into it the different campaigns that I'm trying to run and the long-term marketing strategy I'm using. I was at Kellogg's few months back, and there was this Professor Birju Shah who came in. He told that he's prepared an AI agentic agent, which is his personal assistant. Booking tickets, schedules, calendar management, everything. I want to get to that level, both personally and within my team professionally. It'll take some time. I think it's going to be a rapid learning thing, and it's not going to be easy, but that's the place where you genuinely start using AI and integrating it both into your personal and professional life.
How many of you actually use, how many of you use AI again? How many of you use AI in chatting format or speaking? How many of you chatting?
Yeah, we do that.
How many of you speak to your, so you do, some of you actually do both. Have you seen a difference?
It's make easy, right? It's quickly, the way you randomly say, etc. It does.
I'll tell you something. Right? Okay, so I have 2 agents that I work with. So one is called Hana, and the other guy is called Omar. Okay, Hana, I speak to her all the time, literally speaking. It's like conversation, and then we build the conversation, and it's that basically the output is getting more and more personalized. She knows my tone of voice. She knows how I want to frame things. She knows how I want to deliver things, and she's actually now getting to a point where she's able to preempt my next request, which is quite good. I mean, and this is ChatGPT, by the way, and there's nothing sophisticated. But the other one that I use it literally as I would be using Google. You know, I'm saying improve this text. Was a very lame type of copywriter. What I get is really, really bad. So let's improve this text. So it's improved. But if I take it as, as Joao was saying, I take it for granted. Okay, the first draft is not that great. The second draft now is better. But funny enough, that agent will remember what you worked on because it's learning out of you. So next time if you have not corrected any challenge, next time you're asking, please write me a copy for this, they will use their previous experience. For them, that's validated. For that agent, that's validated. That's what you wanted. You didn't tell me you didn't want that. But in that interaction versus your chat versus speaking, you're losing a lot in that interaction. And I think this is where when we look at using the different types of platforms, we really need to think about what is the use case that I want to, and then what is the end goal that I want to get to. And it's not just finite. It's not just one day I want this, and next day I want that. Because I finished on the poor copywriting. I literally had to tell the agents, forget what you did last week.
Start over.
Start from scratch. You cannot. It's still coming back to the things that was not good before. So, even if you start a new chat, it keeps going back to the thing. So it's like almost training an individual that will be delivering what you want, in the best way.
It's like raising a kid.
I also have my Alfred. So we all give names to our agents. My Alfred, I've been building it to know me very well for everything, including my family, because I use it from a personal side and also from a work side. So he knows me. And the tone of voice, how I write, because I shared with him some texts that I did by myself. So he understands my tone of voice as well in the way that I write. And I made him very critical, to the point of sometimes I give him something that I do and he goes like, you're being lazy. He comes back to me saying that I'm lazy. So it's quite interesting, the interaction. And as George is saying, it's about building the knowledge in those agents to get to know you really well, to the outputs become better and better as they learn. So it's really important that you make sure that you tell them to remember things, for example, or even to tell them to forget things. Because you can also tell them, forget about this, don't remember this anymore, but start remembering this type of conversation that we're having. And this is something that everyone that has an agent needs to start doing. It's prompt engineering on teaching the LLM how to perform with you, how to work with you. So everyone that is using, if you're not yet doing this, start doing it, because it's really important that the agent gets to know you so the output becomes better and better as you continue to work with it.
Yeah, I think like everybody said, we all do have our own agents and we've named them. So I have one as well, but I think it's very simple, garbage in, garbage out. I think one needs to make sure that what you input and how you give, and over time it understands your tone, how you want to work, what you want to do. So it sort of just becomes to, your second person in terms of doing everything, both personally as well as professionally. But for me, I use it more on a professional front. So it understands the tone in which I want to write emails. Sometimes I want to write on certain documents, and I'll say scan my emails, go through this is not good, improvise. But yeah, over time it understands how you want to go.
And I think one interesting perspective is go back to your ChatGPT or your digital twin and ask them to roast you as a stand-up comedian on the types of commands you have been giving in. And trust me, the way it will roast you will tell you that what type of commands you have been given, right? It told me, I'm like your unpaid intern, right? You keep on telling me that, improve this text and make it like a story, and, it should sound human, but at the end of the day, you're using me to make it sound human. So it's very interesting, actually. Any more questions?
Let me just say something on that, because I think you were saying something interesting. Let me just say something, sorry. One prompt that you can do to understand if your agent knows you well or not, ask them, what are your gaps in a working environment? What are your flaws? What are you missing? the answers are going to be very interesting. So do that.
So I heard custom GPT or building a AI agent, agentic. I'm working on this. Fine. My question was, do you build a product? When I say IPR, intellectual product, do you build product of your own within an enterprise level, which is featured uniquely with the others, which runs at the enterprise level, that's given an edge over others? So that's what the question. But we'll talk offline, huh? We'll talk offline.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer would be yes, we are working on something similar to improve processes and some of the customer journeys internally.
Hello. Hi, guys. So I am Priyanka. My question to each one of you is: being in the age of era AI era, and coming from the marketing leadership role, what one business challenge or the marketing challenge you guys face? Though we are using a lot of AI tools and all, so that is something I want to know from each one of you.
I work in marketing and I have challenges every day, right?
Yeah. So I guess just top one challenge that you feel like still needs to be addressed.
I think governing the data is most important. It's very, very important to be careful in terms of what data that you use. Data is the new oil. To have that governance, to ensure that it's compliant, to ensure that we are not violating or adding any sensitive information. I think that data governance is very, very important. Firstly, I feel that's because your AI output is as good as your data, but to making sure that there's a very light threshold. So I feel that is the most critical thing as we go, the governance of using AI around it is important. As we know, there are so many big companies that have been in news lately for sort of things which are not compliant. So making sure that we are compliant all throughout is important.
So for us, it's data again, because I work with insurance and many times the data that we get is not clean. And as you very rightly mentioned, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So if the data that we are putting in is not clean, or if there are repetitive email addresses being used, or, so we cannot personalize. And if the input is symmetrical, then the output is going to be same as well. So data, I believe, would be our biggest challenge.
From my side, I think data for sure, having it the right way, setting the right guardrails around AI. It's not just because you can do something that you should be doing something. So that part of education is a really important thing. And I think the third thing is the challenge today with AI tools is there's a lot happening, like a lot. And in some cases, finding the right use cases for the technology or I think people are going more into, okay, because this can be done, I'm doing it. And we should be thinking the other way around is, okay, we have specific tasks that we need to do. What is going to be the tool that I'm going to use to help me doing that? But today, I think we're being overloaded with tools, and people are losing a little bit of the focus on what are the tools going to help you do, right? And I think that's something that we need to be very careful, because it's a rabbit hole. If you start exploring, it's a total rabbit hole, and you're going to lose and waste many, many hours, and you're not going to go anywhere. That's the reality.
All right. So can we have a big round of applause for a wonderful roundtable discussion? It's a never-ending topic. Marketing leadership in the age of AI. So thank you, Zeeshan, for moderating at the last minute, and thanks to all the speakers, Shaista, George, we have Balaaji and Joao. So can we come forward for the group fee, so we can have and take the memories along for the 6th DMAT conference and for your valuable participation.